Is the Dodgers' best plan for their bullpen pitchers actually not using them? And oh boy, here come the waterworks from the rest of baseball because Shohei Ohtani is about to pitch in the postseason for the first time.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show has a lot to unpack, from Travis Rodgers' suggestion to fix the Dodgers' bullpen issues without using the bullpen, to teams pissed off at two-way Otani making his first postseason appearance, and a massive series for both LA and Arizona kicking off today. Travis, this one is going to be fun.
It should be terrific. We're getting close to the very, very good stuff, Harry, which starts in just about a week. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the FanDuel app today.
He's Travis Rodgers. I'm Harry Ruiz, two guys who talk sports for a living and bleed Dodger Blue for life. You can get more Travis on 710 ESPN LA or the ESPN LA app from 3 to 6 p.m. with the Travis and DeMarco show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play broadcaster for the USC Football Trojans and the Las Vegas Raiders. But nothing beats jumping on the mic every weekday morning and diving deep into what I love most, talking Dodger baseball with you. And we want you to be a part of our show. Hit us up on the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 279-3-LOCKED or 279-356-2533. You can either leave us a voicemail or a text, and you might be featured in our show. Leading off, scoreboard watching time. We only got a week left with this. The Padres played yesterday and had a comeback extra innings 5-4 win over Milwaukee to clinch their spot in the postseason as a wildcard team, and they keep the Dodgers' magic number to clinch the division at 3 with 6 games left for LA and 5 for San Diego. So that's going to keep things interesting for this final week of the regular season. All right, let's focus on the boys in blue. Travis has an idea he wants to throw out there, a suggestion that would limit the bullpen's opportunities to blow it for the Dodgers once October rolls around. And honestly, after what we've seen lately, he might be into something. So Travis, take it away.
All right. So this, I need to be honest. I'm not gonna steal someone else's intellectual property. This is an idea that somebody floated on my radio show, DeMarco and Trav every day, 3 to 6 on ESPN 17. Greg Bergman, who is a colleague of mine at 710, had this idea, and I think that it's interesting. It's flawed, and it certainly doesn't fix everything that's the matter. But I think it's an interesting proposition. So I want to put it out there, and feel free to hit us up in the YouTube comments. Feel free to hit us up on the listener line and tell us what you think about this. The Dodgers have a very, very large problem at the back end of the bullpen. The Dodgers don't really have anybody that you feel really good about getting outs out of the bullpen. Maybe Vesia feels you feel pretty good. Maybe Henriquez, but again, this is not last year's bullpen where you could just kind of run one guy after the next and feel like they're going to get you through a pretty clean inning. The idea of, like, just to kind of give you an idea of how much it's changed. Think about that bullpen game in Game 4 where they put together a shutout, and if they'd had to try something like that today, what are the chances of that? So that's kind of where we are in 2025 relative to 2024. The plan is to not use the bullpen, or use it as little as possible. And the way that you do that is, what do the Dodgers have right now in abundance? Starting pitching. They have 6, not even 4 or 5. They have 6 starting pitchers that you can reliably say can get you 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 innings, right? You've got Shohei Ohtani, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Clayton Kershaw, and Emmett Sheehan. That makes 6 people. You basically tie 2 guys together. You basically say, Clayton Kershaw and Tyler Glasnow, you guys are pitching this game. Shohei Ohtani and, Blake Snell, you guys are pitching this game. And then, take the last 2 guys and you guys are pitching this game. And what it is you try to 4 and 5 this or 3 and 6 this, and then you try to put these guys together later on in the series and reverse the order. So one guy might pitch 6 one time, the other guy might pitch 3, another guy pitches 3, the next guy pitches 6 the next time. And you basically try to eliminate the bullpen or reduce the bullpen as best as possible. It is flawed. You're going to need some guys out of that bullpen. But if you can use those guys in the middle, let's say, for instance, one of your starters only goes 4 innings. And instead of going to that second starter that's piggybacked on the other guy, you try to get through the 4th or the 5th inning with one of these guys that may not be firing on all cylinders. Now, 4 or 5, and the guy gives up a run or 2, it gives you another 3 or 4 innings to try to get that run back, presumably with a starting pitcher at the back end who's going to hold the line at where it is. So what do you think? The piggyback plan to tie 2 starters together, and if you need a reliever, you put them somewhere in the middle as opposed to somewhere at the back.
I agree. And I mean, you asked the question, what do the Dodgers have in abundance right now? And besides starting pitching as fans like me complaining about the bullpen, well, right here is a way that you would be like, okay, we're not going to have to use Kirby Yates. We're not going to have to use Tanner Scott. And I feel bad saying this. You're not going to have to use Blake Trinen because look, it's the elephant in the room right now, the bullpen. I'm not here just to pile it on one guy, but look at Trinen's numbers. He's been as unreliable as they come. For the last couple of weeks, he's been directly responsible for 7 Dodgers losses this year, and 5 of them came in his last 7 appearances. That's crazy. That's ridiculous. And it's not just getting man on base with hits, with home runs. However, the walks, Travis, if there's somebody that beats on the drum over and over and over again on the walks, it's this guy on your screen. If you're an everydayer, you know that it's an unforced error, as Travis calls them, when you as a pitcher walk a batter. And he has 9 walks in his last 5 1/3 innings, 10 walks in his last 11 2/3 innings, 18 walks in 24 2/3 innings overall this season. That's not just bad luck right there. It's a command issue. And I'm talking about Blake Trinen, somebody that without him, the Dodgers don't win the World Series in 2024. No. Someone that without him, the bullpen is super shaky over the last couple of years. And it sucks having to talk about him that way right now, but it's the reality. And he's one of the guys that you trusted in to be like, okay, I'll send him out there. Good things are going to happen. Right now, it doesn't matter if it's a 5-run game or a 1-run game. I don't feel comfortable with Blake Trinen going out to the mound. And that's been the same case all season long with Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates. So you're talking about 3 out of the 7 guys you're going to be rolling out from the bullpen. And I mean, that's an uncomfortable position that you have as a team right now.
Well, here's the thing. I'll tell you this right now, Harry. I would be stunned if Kirby Yates is on the postseason roster. I don't think you're going to having to use him is not I don't think he's going to make the team. We'll see how it shakes out moving beyond. Maybe somebody gets, but I don't think he's going to make it. I think Trinen will, but I think it's going to be by the skin of his teeth. Because I think you're going to have to use some guys right now that are better. And Trinen is just like you said, he's walking guys. He's missing the zone. Michael Kopech's on the IL now, so he's probably not going to be there either. Scott, I think, is. Henriquez is. Dreyer is. Vesia, Banda, I think both are. But that's a lot of left-handed pitchers. You're going to need some right-handed guys in there as well. So I think that's why Trinen is in there for sure. Henriquez, I think Will Klein has a chance to make this team the way that he's pitched in the last week. But kind of putting all these things together, I think, like you said, none of these guys are guys like, oh, great, pitcher XYZ is coming into the game. We feel pretty good. You'd feel better about it if it's the 5th inning, knowing that your offense would have another 4 or 5 innings to try to make up whatever happens. I think one of the complications of this plan that is floated out there is you're asking some guys to do some stuff that they have not done also. The only guy that we're talking about in this mix that we kind of went through that has pitched out of the bullpen, and this is kind of stretching it a little bit, is Sheehan. Everyone else has been really, in their routine as a starting pitcher. Now, the plan could be it literally is you're starting the game. It's just you're starting the game in the 5th inning. So you could prepare like a starter. It's not like, hey, Shohei's in trouble in the 3rd inning. Tyler Glasnow, go down there and get hot and get ready to go. You're going to go in there. You basically say, Shohei is going to pitch. I'm just making up combinations here. But Shohei is going to pitch the first 5 innings of this game. And you will pitch 6, 7, 8, 9. if we need to get Shohei before the 6th inning, it will not be you. It will be somebody else. We will bridge somebody from Otani to Glasnow in this situation. So a relief pitcher that has to come in the middle of the inning will be a traditional relief pitcher, that you're going to give these starting pitchers an opportunity to work up. Now, getting those last few outs of the game are different than getting outs in the 4th, 5th, 6th inning. So it would be an adjustment. But when you're talking about Snell and Yamamoto, and you can't use Otani in this situation, because I know we're going to talk about this coming up. Otani would still have to pitch at the beginning of the game because the risk of him coming out is too great and losing the designated hitter. But these other guys, I mean, other than Kershaw, they have swing and miss stuff. They have the ability to go out there and just blow guys away. And if you have a fresh Blake Snell, a fresh Yamamoto, a fresh Emmett Sheehan coming out of the bullpen in the 6th inning, and knowing that you can get to the finish line with one of those guys, it's an interesting idea to me.
And the only but that I would put out there is the days between games. You know, Shohei Ohtani, he can only go out there every 6 or 7 days. Heck, the last time he went out on the mound, it had been 10 days. It had been multiple double-digit days since he had been out there on the mound. And if you look at the calendar right now for the postseason, the way it's laid out, you got game 1 of the wild card on Tuesday, September 30th. And then you have game 1 of the NLDS on Saturday, October 4th. So it's not perfect. It's not a formula where, I mean, unless you're able to win those first 2 games of the wild card and you got Thursday, Friday off, and you're not struggling with, okay, what are we going to do? Then you're able to save that third formula of your pitchers, of your guys piggybacking each other going into the Saturday game, and you feel in a better spot. But I agree right there. It's a better formula than just sending out there. If your pitcher's 5-6 innings deep and that's all you're going to get, you got to fill in 9 outs. And I don't feel that the Dodgers bullpen right now is in a position where it's like, oh, it's only 9 outs. We got this.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot. And look, I get it. There are a lot of problems with that formula. There are a lot of problems as far as the game stacking up and when can you turn them around, and maybe you're asking them to do a little more than they would typically be able to do. But we've seen, the everydayers have heard me say this before. We've seen the Dodgers when they've won the World Series 2 times in the last 5-6 years. They've done it with starting pitchers closing the game. They did it with Walker Buehler closing it last year. They did it with Julio Urias doing it in 2020. These are guys that went to the bullpen because they really had no other options that were going to work at that point, and they leaned on those guys and they were able to get it done. I certainly think you're going to see Shohei out of the pen at least once or twice over the course of the postseason, depending on how far they go. And I really do think you're going to see some of those other starters have to pitch some innings at the back end because they just don't have the horses this year.
So there you have it. Travis's idea: limit the chances for the pen to mess it up by leaning harder on your starters. Let us know what you think in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube, or hit us up on the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 279-3-LOCKED, 279-356-2533. If you're watching the show on YouTube, it's right there on the ticker below on our screen. One of those guys is Shohei Ohtani. And speaking of him, there's a whole lot of noise around the supposed extra pitcher advantage that the Dodgers are going to have in the postseason. Wouldn't you know it, other teams are predictably crying foul. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, I'll tell you why it's not what it seems. And honestly, the complaints, they're laughable. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. And you can feel good about it knowing Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. It's completely free. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers Postcast Show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. All right, let's talk about this Bob Nightingale report that he had over the weekend. According to him, rival teams for the Dodgers are frustrated that LA will essentially get one more pitcher on their roster than everyone else, thanks to the special exemption of the Shohei Ohtani rule that allows them to be a two-way player in baseball. First off, let me just say this. I didn't hear anyone complaining when Ohtani was winning MVPs with the Angels and Anaheim was finishing 20 games out of the playoff picture. Now, suddenly that he's with the Dodgers where October actually matters, he's on the biggest stage of baseball. Now it's a problem. Give me a damn break. And plus, Travis, every team in baseball had a chance at signing Shohei Ohtani, and even the Angels. Remember, Shohei and his agency went back to the Angels and said, this is the offer that the Dodgers have on the table with the deferred money. You can give me the exact same offer and I'll stay with you. And they didn't offer that. So if everyone had a chance at it, don't come and cry right now.
Yeah, it does feel like it's a little bit of sour grapes, to be sure, that the Dodgers got, the greatest player in the league at this point, and he's a one of one. And I keep coming back to this. Look, if Shohei Ohtani were, let's just say, in some alternate timeline, some alternate universe, a member of the San Diego Padres, and they had an extra pitcher to go along with their roster, would it bother me? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But here's the thing, Harry. At the core of all of this is an entertainment product, right? This is a TV show, for lack of a better word. And the TV shows do not kill their stars, right? They make sure that these guys stay on the show as long as possible. It is good for everybody. It is good for every team. It is good for the entire league that Shohei Ohtani stays in games. And if there's a rule that takes the greatest player in the league off of the field because, hey, that's the way they did it in, 1912, then that's dumb, right? This is the best player, the most exciting player that is bringing casuals to the sport to come and see two-way Ohtani. And the idea of taking him out of a game because it's an unfair advantage to somebody else, which it really isn't. It's something that he can do. If there was a bunch of guys that could do it, then other guys would do it. It's singular to him. But I don't understand why you would ever want to take the most compelling athlete in your sport and have a rule that wouldn't allow him to stay in the game as long as possible.
Imagine if MLS said Lionel Messi doesn't get to play in the second half because he's way better than everyone else. So he has to only play 45 minutes. And if they take a 2-goal lead, the second half, somebody else has to come in. It's ridiculous. And let's be real. When was the Ohtani rule implemented? In 2022, before he became a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, if Andrew Friedman gets his way and the changes that he asked for of Shohei Ohtani being able to come out of the bullpen and still play as a designated hitter for the Dodgers without having to go out to the outfield, if that change happens, then cry foul, because then that's a change that the Dodgers would be requesting at Major League Baseball, would bend the knee if it does end up happening. But right now, please cry me a river. This is just, the Dodgers didn't write the rule.
They did, and the rule was in place before he came to the Dodgers. Like you said, this is not something that's specific to the Dodgers. It's something that's specific to Ohtani, and it existed with him in Anaheim the same way it does in LA. And I agree with the way that the Dodgers would like to see the rule changed moving forward. I do think would be a little unfair to the other teams from a competitive standpoint, because if the Dodgers want to keep him in the game, they should have to put him in the outfield. That's just the way that baseball is played. And I'm okay with that. And if that's how it's going to be, it would be fascinating. It would be, imagine that. Shohei Ohtani, I think, has played 4 games in left field for the Angels and 1 in right field for the Angels. And it was a long time ago. He hasn't done it in a long time. Now, do I want to see it? Heck yeah. I think it would be amazing to see that, because there's nothing that this dude can't do. And all of a sudden, imagine him running down a ball in the gap to seal a win. And we know he can do that with the way he can run. Like, the more Shohei Ohtani on the baseball field we get, the better.
You thought an outfield assist from Mookie Betts in the
Oh, right.
postseason was exciting in 2020. Just wait until Shohei Ohtani's out there and he gets somebody at second, at third, or
Yeah.
home. Just with you've seen this guy throw 100+ mile an hour like it's nothing up from the mound. Now let's wait to see him do it at right field. I want to see it happen. I mean, it would suck if it happens, because it would mean that the Dodgers would give up a lead late in the game with him up on the mound. But at the end of the day, if it does happen, it would give me even more intrigued into what happens. But I just thought it was.
By the way, let me paint you a picture. And I'm not, this is a very specific scenario, but it's not impossible. Let's say that you're playing, I don't know, let's say you're playing the San Diego Padres, right? And the meat of their order is coming up. That here comes Machado, here comes, just the Tatis, like just the meat of their order. It's the seventh inning, and you've used the bullpen guys that you feel the best about, whatever that means. But now, if you can get through the seventh inning and set those guys down, those guys aren't coming back up again. Maybe you do deploy Shohei in the seventh inning. Maybe you do hold on to that lead, but now you got to get to the finish line with somebody else on the mound. And that's when Ohtani goes back, and you let your other guys, the guys that maybe you don't have nearly as much faith in, but you'd rather them face, 7, 8, 9 than 3, 4, 5. So you put those guys in at that back end of it to try to get those last few outs. There are scenarios that exist where Ohtani comes in prior to the ninth. I think the Dodgers would avoid it at all costs. But if the series is sitting right there, if this is your chance to win the series, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for it. So it's exceptionally unlikely, but I don't think it's impossible.
Hey, the opportunity is there. And I mean, just like the opportunity for the Dodgers to win the Ohtani sweepstakes were there, and they took advantage of it. Now let them enjoy the benefits. You don't like it? Should have written a bigger check than the poison blue. The Dodgers, they open a huge 3-game set tonight with the Diamondbacks, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Next on Locked On Dodgers, we break down this series.
The NFL season is underway, and FanDuel is making sure that you are ready for every kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Because right now, if you're a new customer, now is a perfect time to be a new customer, because all you need to do is bet just $5, and if that bet wins, here's what you get. You get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app however you would like. And that's one of the best parts about FanDuel, because it fits however you like to bet. If you like player props, FanDuel has player props. If you like building a same-game parlay, guess who's got that? FanDuel. Yep, you got it right. You like to jump in and the live action is happening as it's happening right there in front of you, and you think that you know what's going to happen next? FanDuel, right? It makes every game more exciting. Whether you're watching your team or you're just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, you have it all at FanDuel. And of course, it's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add just that little extra something to Sundays. And it's not just football. There's all sorts of baseball action too. And playoff baseball gets really exciting. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers. Rodgers, just like Dodgers, but with an R at the beginning on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. All right, let's set the scene. Dodgers, D-backs, 3 games starting tonight, and suddenly this series has a lot riding on it. For the Dodgers, the math is simple. The magic number to clinch the NL West, 3. Sweep Arizona, they secure their 12th divisional crown in the last 13 years. For Arizona, it's desperation mode. They went from being sellers in the trade deadline to now being 1 game back of the final wildcard spot in the National League. And that ticket could belong either to the Mets, Reds, or Diamondbacks, depending on how the final stretch plays out. Travis, the problem for Arizona, look at the Dodgers' probable starters. Tuesday, Shohei Ohtani. Wednesday, Blake Snell. Thursday, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That's 3 Cy Young caliber arms back to back to back. Good luck is an understatement.
Yeah, good luck. But here's the thing, Harry. I'll say this. The Dodgers need to do to Arizona what they did to San Francisco. Basically, San Francisco was on a heater, right? Before the Dodgers went up to San Francisco about 10 days or so ago, San Francisco was the hottest team in baseball. San Francisco had taken themselves from barely a 500 team that was scuffling, and they got on one, and the Dodgers came in and said, nah, we're good, and whack. And they basically eliminated their postseason hopes. They went up to San Francisco, won the series. They came back to Los Angeles and won the series and basically killed the Giants and their postseason hopes at that point. That was important because the last thing you want is a team that's going to come into the postseason on a heater that had just beaten you, feeling pretty good about it. That's exactly the same situation that Arizona's in right now. Arizona is on a heater. Arizona has played really well lately, like you just said, to come from way behind to put themselves in a position where if they play good baseball for the last week, they're going to slide in by the skin of their teeth. Who are they likely to play? The Los Angeles Dodgers. Finish them off. Knock them out. I don't like playing division opponents in the playoffs. They're really familiar. The intimidation factor, all of that stuff, it's out the window. If Arizona has success against those three guys you just met, fast forward another half a week, and all of a sudden you're playing them again. You don't think they're going to be feeling pretty good about that? Finish them off. Get them out. The Dodgers have done really well against the Reds this year. They've won 5 out of 6 games against the Reds. I know the Reds have really good starting pitching, which is always questionable and a little bit scary. The Mets are impossible to figure out. They either win 9 out of 10 or they lose 9 out of 10. They're a really bizarre team, very inconsistent. Get the Diamondbacks out of here. Take the chance with the Mets or the Reds and keep it moving.
Here are the D-backs results since mid-August. They beat Cleveland 2 out of 3. Cleveland fighting for a wild card spot in the AL. 2 out of 3 against Cincinnati, fighting for a wild card spot in the National League. They beat Milwaukee. They split a series with them, a 4-game series in Milwaukee. Then they beat the Dodgers twice out of 3 games in LA. They beat Texas 2 out of 3. They beat Boston 2 out of 3. The only series lost in this stretch is against San Francisco in the Bay, 2 out of 3. But then they won their series in Minnesota. They beat the Giants 2 out of 3 and Philadelphia 2 out of 3 in Arizona. They are beating good teams. They are playing good baseball. They're a team that can be a threat. And if you let them win this series, that's going to be a confidence booster for them heading into the final series of the year, which for them is going to be at San Diego. So it's right there, a prove-it situation for them where they're going to need help from both the Reds and the Mets opponents beating them to get a jump on them, because if it's a 3-way tie, the D-backs are out, and the Reds are actually going to be the team that gets the final wild card spot. But right now, this series, honestly, I was like, okay, the big one is going to be the Mariners, the last one. The Mariners, the leaders of the AL West, who just swept the Astros in Houston. That's going to be the big, okay, final shot at just showing the world what you can do. All of a sudden, this one at the beginning of the week, I'm like, man, it has very high stakes. And I feel like as a Dodgers fan, Travis, one thing that I really dislike is going to Arizona, going to San Francisco, and instead of hearing their fans chant, let's go, insert name of team here, they chant,
beat LA.
I feel like it's annoying as hell. They don't cheer for their team to win. They cheer for us to lose. That's how rent-free we live in their heads. That's how much they dislike us, that they prefer us to lose than their team to win. They feel it's a successful season if the Dodgers don't win the World Series. If anybody else wins the World Series but them.
I love this because I feel exactly the same way. I love when they chant beat LA because it means you don't care about your guys. You just hate our guys. And I love that. I like the idea that we occupy such an important spot in their psychology. I love that a great deal. Whenever I hear beat LA, I'm like, okay, we're on to something right here. Just kind of going back to the beginning of what we were talking about. What have we said a million, like kind of going back to when the Dodgers were kind of going like this, right? And they were hot, they were cold, they were hot, they were cold. We kept saying, hey, look, the best team doesn't win in October. The hottest team wins in October. The team that is just kind of on one, the Dodgers got on one after that, that game 3 that they lost in San Diego. And all of a sudden they clicked and it got hot real fast and they took off and they really weren't challenged too much after that. Arizona's hot. You do not want them coming in on the back end of this. You do not, because they come in hot like you said, they've been hot for about a month and change. So that's really hot. That's a confidence that is really hard to shake. So I would love to see them get clipped. I would love to see them get knocked out. I would like to see the Reds and the Mets have to come in because they haven't been nearly as consistently good as the Arizona Diamondbacks have been over the last few weeks. So let's get Arizona out of there. And by the way, if you punch a hole in their boat early, if Shohei goes out there today and shoves and does what you'd expect him to do and they lose, and now all of a sudden you're down a couple of games with only 5 to play, that's a really tough mountain. That's a really tough mountain to close. So you can now lose today and Arizona win, or I should say Arizona wins and the Reds lose, the Mets lose, or both of them lose. Now all of a sudden it's a flat-footed race to the finish line. Win today and you can take virtually all the wind out of their sails.
Yeah, right now the Diamondbacks, they're chasing the Dodgers. They're in the driver's seat. So for LA, it's simple. Take care of business, sweep the D-backs, clinch the West, send your rival packing, and that's about as sweet as it gets. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Dodgers. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find it on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And also catch Pete Fox after every Dodgers game on our YouTube channel with his live postcast. We'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, to recap Shohei Ohtani's final regular season start on the mound as the Dodgers try to get closer to clinch the divisional crown once again. Shohei, I expect something spectacular every time he's up there with the ball in his hand, Travis.
Finish off another MVP season in style, right? He's going to win the MVP. He might win it unanimously. He's going to go 2 for 2, but it's a little cherry on top of the sundae, right, Harry? Let's put it at finish it in style.
Let's rock and roll. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it Dodger Blue.